In this tutorial, we are going to talk about inputting SEO data. So I'm on my page. You can also do this for posts, and typically you will have this Smart Crawl banner open. So you'll see this usually when you come. I tend to have it closed, and you can toggle it on and off. So for this example, let's open it. And I have just set up a text block with loads of text, a story of when I reached #1 in Google for page ranking. So I've put this in as just a test to show the example. So the outline here is essentially how you want Google to interpret your page or your post for ranking. So initially, you've got this section here. And what that looks like, if I've put in my website name, SquirrelWise, and so this is what Google is displaying as of today. It's got my name, it's got my kind of slogan or tagline, and it's got a little blurb about me. By default, what will happen is Google will just take the title of your page or post, and it will also take a snippet from random, usually the first paragraph of your page or post. Now, most of the time that's inappropriate because you want a specific catchy bit of text like here to instantly grab the reader. So for every page and post, you will almost certainly want to edit this so that you're telling Google, this is the information I want you to display. Okay, so first of all, click on Edit Meta. You can see here that by default, this is what it's taking. And you may find that that is agreeable in most cases. So for sake of argument, I'm on the About page. And it's got the name of this website, which is just a generic name I've given my website. So you could have your company name here usually. Now it's completely up to you how you display this. You could display this as the title of the post, however you like. Generally, this usually works as the start off. And then it takes the excerpt, which is what WordPress generically creates. So in this case, you will probably want to override this with text that is specific, punchy, short, and draws people in and catches people's attention. So I'll come back to that shortly. We've also got this SEO analysis. So I'll get back to this in a minute because I want to kind of tie this into the meta section. So the SEO analysis is it will do a scan of the content on your page, and it will give you a kind of generic rules that you've done well or you've failed upon. To initialize this or to kickstart it, you've got to go into this focus keyword section and input your keyword or keyword phrase. Now this is where you want your page to rank. So in this example, I've written a post about how I reached #1 in Google for SEO ranking for my website. So we could use anything like being #1 on Google or high ranking or whatever the keyword is you've decided to choose for this page or post. That will be the keyword that you input to here. So for this example, let's use the key phrase #1 on Google. Let's see. So now it's done a scan and it's got these various rules or advice based on that keyword. Now notice I haven't written this article to rank for SEO necessarily, so I haven't kind of made this the purpose of the post. I've written this post just as a generic story. I wasn't interested in ranking. So essentially, when you're making a page or a post to rank for Google, so to compete with your competitors, to be high up in Google for search results, you want to have a very clear strategy. Now, for most people that are going to be using this with relevance, we would have already talked about this. So essentially, you're putting in your keyword for that page to rank for. And then you can click and open these various points to get an overview of what that means. There are stop words in the focus keyword. Focus keywords aren't used in the SEO title. So I do expect you to do some of your own research to fully understand this. Again, I probably would have covered some of this if this was part of your web package. But essentially, I'm just showing you quickly how this plugin works. So you can follow these various things to get an idea. And like it's suggested here at number 2, the focus keyword is not even used in the title. So I'm going to put number 1 in Google, and I'm going to add that. Instead of introduction, I'm going to add that as that, and I'm going to add that as my level heading 1. I'm telling Google this article is about this. Heading 1 is the most important one. That starts the page. I'm going to update that. And then let's see what this now says. So that will probably have gone green. There are some focus keywords. You haven't used the focus keyword before. Focus keywords found in one subheading. So the subheadings are your H2s, 3s, and 4s. Focus keyword appears in the first paragraph, which is good. So these kind of give you a general idea of how to structure and build your post. So I'm not going to dive into that any further. That is the keyword. This will trigger a quick scan, and then you can use these tools to implement and make your post better so that it ranks better. So now that I'm trying to rank for that, I may find that actually I want to put that as my title. And I could do how I reached number 1 on Google. And then my excerpt here could be all the tools I used to reach number 1 in Google. So you will find that these will also trigger a green thing down here because they're in the meta. They're in the meta title and the metadata. And so essentially this here and this here will now become this for that particular page. So when someone's looking for, how do I reach number 1 in Google, and you want to grab their attention, that title there is very clear and distinct. And then you pull them in even further with the relevant script here. So that is essentially it for this SEO posts. Readability, that just gives you a generic score of how well or how easy it is to use or to read. It's not always overly accurate. I don't necessarily always find it helpful, but some people do. Social, this is your open graph. This is how if someone comes across this post and think, I really like this post, I'm going to share it with my friends on Twitter, on Facebook, you can add your own image for that page. So for this about page, which in this case is how I reached Google, number 1 on Google, I could have an image related to that. And so when someone shares this on Facebook or Twitter, they'll have a nice thumbnail image in tow with the actual article. And an article shared on Twitter or Facebook with an image and an engaging image has much more traction. So that's what this social here is. Open graph is what we call for this. And again, you can control what the title is and the description of that link that is shared on Twitter or Facebook. So here's the Twitter one. And I think open graph is the generic one for Facebook. Okay, so that gives you that flexibility. You can add your own image. If you don't add your image or you don't add any of this data, I think it will just pull from the SEO or it will pull from the post. The image, it will definitely pull from the first image or grab a random image from the post. If it doesn't have any images, it won't add an image. And let's see what advanced is. Indexing, follow, archive, snippet. I haven't really looked at this automatic linking able. Okay, ignore this for the moment, or feel free to do research on this and yeah, and see how you want to use it. So that is using the smart crawl and inputting SEO data. I would recommend that you do this for every post and every single page. Once you get into Flow, it's quite useful. You may find that sometimes what Google pulls generically from the page is good enough, but it's better to have more granular control. If you're not looking for ranking or it's not important, ignore this keyword and all of this stuff. That's not important. Just focus on these two fields so that you've got a nice, clean, presentable piece of information that people can see. Just adds a bit more professionalism to your page and post. So that is that.